G'day guys, back with the Outer Circle. Where do I begin this video? I talk about Forge World a lot on this channel, and I've often wondered about what's going on behind the scenes. My theory, for what it's worth, is that since they're handling specialist games, their resources have all but dried up for what was once their mainstay, which was supplemental products for mainline Games Workshop. And rather than hire new staff members in order to churn out more content, they're happy to just let certain systems die off. That's my theory, can't confirm it. Now, I made a little video recently where I showed some old footage of Alan Bly and also Tony Cottrell, where the real passion in their work actually comes across. But fast forward 10 years, Alan's gone and Tony's in charge, but the passion is seemingly lacking. Now, I could be completely wrong here, but let's look at the evidence. No open day was scheduled for this year, and that's pre-virus, by the way, so that's no excuse. Also, the visual feed, the Forge World channel on YouTube, where they would talk about the developers, the sculptors, how they wrote the books, do trailers, would gain insight into their work. Yeah, that's long dried up several years ago. What about new releases? Well, tell me this, what was the last major 40k release? Once upon a time, every Friday a new kit would drop. Tell me, when was the last Xeno release for 40k? Or the last Age of Sigmar release? What about the last Imperial Armour book? Fall of Orpheus, probably? It's hard to feel like they really care, and that they're trying to expand the range when all they've done in the last 3 years is continually contract the range. So let's set up the current situation. Imperial Armour, this one here, comes out. It's not the Fires of Syraxis, which, by the way, was the long-awaited book which would finally flesh out the mechanicum of 40k by adding the 30k range and Custodes models to 40k, which will flesh out those factions. That, who knows what is happening with it. Instead, we get this. Now, this book here is designed to give numerous units in the Forge World range updated rules for the current edition of the game. Okay, that's good enough, in theory. But wait, we have a problem here. Forge World units that have never been widely accepted in 40k, due to a few overpowered or hard to understand units making their way into the main game. These units, which left a sour taste in the mouths of many competitive people, has meant that Forge World not so appreciated. By the way, to defend Forge World here, compared to the broken shit in mainline 40k in 5th, 6th and 7th, I've never felt like this was justified gripe. To me, Forge World gave the Xenos races especially additional units which would really add to lackluster factions. The Dark Eldar used to only have the Raider and Ravager prior to their 5th edition update. Forge World adding just one mediocre flyer, for instance, gave them 50% more vehicles overnight, and more vehicles than they'd had in the 10 years prior to that. This went doubly so for Apocalypse games, where the Imperial Armour factions all had super heavies on Titans on their side, and the Xenos had, well, heavy support. To go a step further, a heap of popular Forge World units crossed the divide and made it into mainline plastics, such as the Drop Pod, Baneblade, and Vendetta. Now, for such broken products, it was plenty fine when they went into Games Workshop mainline books. Suddenly they became balanced because they had a little yellow Games Workshop logo on there instead. So to get back on topic, the latest Imperial Armour, it doesn't include every unit. In fact, it doesn't even come close. The idea being that Forge World had their reasons, whatever they may be, and it's okay because those missing units and factions can have some non-competitive rules later on for some units. Two problems occur to me here. First, you have a situation where armies can't be used competitively. On the surface, this is a who cares situation. Sure, not every faction and unit can be supported forever, I suppose, even if it is simply a single page of PDF in a digital repository. It wouldn't be the first time such a thing has occurred. My favourite cool army which got Thanos snapped from existence was the Slayer army in 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy. Yep, a kick-ass, entirely white metal, expensive as fuck army, including new units like Slayers with axe heads on chains, which worked kind of like a goblin fanatic and an axe-throwing war machine. This cool as shit faction, gone. Just some lame facsimile reappeared in Age of Sigmar. This leads to problem 2, and it's the major problem. Yes, that there is the minor problem. Who would have any faith in a company where their purchases could become completely null and void any second? Some units won't even get a non-competitive set of rules, let alone any rules. It will be up to the fans to make their own rules. What happens then? You try and ask for permission from people to play your weird list that you concocted? It's not that it's impossible, but aren't we kind of stretching the what-if situation right here? So what now? What is happening with Forge World, and what are we to do? I have absolutely no clue. To me, we have a company that seems to be slowly folded into the mainline company. The service they provided is no longer called for. Customizable miniatures? Nah, fuck that. Making something feel unique to you? No. Monopose miniatures and fixed loadouts. That's all you're allowed to do now in 40k. Deathcore of Krieg? Nah, it's pure Forge World. Half the Games Workshop managers won't even let it into their stores because they don't stock it. And they don't want to upset people who can't buy the product in store. Or, translated, because they're cunts. Same company, same CEO, same shareholders, same titles on the packaging, and yet somehow your thousands of dollars of Forge World is useless between two different Games Workshop stores based on the manager's subjective decision-making process. The problem is, we all know what Forge World should do, what is good for us, but we also aren't naive enough to think they'll do it. What will they actually do though? Well, their past actions speak for themselves, don't they? They want to shit out Necromunda special characters like it's going out of fashion, and can't spare one fucking release window for a Xenos unit. Yeah, the last Xenos unit, by the way, that was released was the Tau Titan, and that was in 7th edition 40k. We are in 9th edition now. Their last fantasy release, some Sigmarine heads, a couple of Khorne demons that nobody asked for, but before that, pretty much nothing since Tamarkan back in 2012, I believe. I don't feel this company is working in our best interest, and I don't mean the usual fuck Games Workshop corporate message of this channel. No, I mean something much worse today. Not that they are making decisions which may or may not work in our favour, but rather seem to be actively making decisions which are directly opposed to what we as a community want. This is not a good place to be in as a customer and as a company, and it's a credit to the strength of the Games Workshop IP and the addictive nature of the product that somehow their fuck you and give us money attitude somehow hasn't led to their blockbuster video style implosion yet. So, what do you all think about this? Do you think this situation is as messed up as I do? Where they just seem to be putting out the bare minimum required level of work and then charging top dollar for the privilege of it? I don't know. Doesn't really float my boat. But hey, I could be wrong. I could be the outlier in the community. What do you guys want, and what do you guys expect of Forge World? Don't be pricks about it in the comments either. Just say what you personally as a customer want from them as a company. The miniatures you want, the rules you want to see, the kind of books you're after. Because I've got the feeling the community thinks like me. We want campaign books that take that narrow slice of 40k and view a minor conflict on a border. Something like the Fall of Orpheus did. Just a single system that took on some Necrons and lost. And they flesh out that story. We don't need a big Horus Heresy level event like 40k seems to be going for, where it's all about, is Chaos going to take over? The Cicatrix Maledictum is so bad. Oh, who controls this side of the galaxy? Who controls that? When's the next Primarch coming back? The smaller conflicts and campaigns are the most fun. To me, anyway. And I think the community, in part, or if not in the majority, feels the same way. And that we would rather interesting new releases. Like, how cool would a Dark Eldar themed campaign be? Where they have some interesting cabal that has not really been explored in the lore before, and then they bring that specific faction into focus, and you could have them go up against Primaris Marines or something. That's fine. Be a great chance to add some more Primaris special characters, for instance, for some different chapters into the game. But that's not the way they're going. instead of focusing on these really cool factions, or even having maybe here's a crazy idea, a Xenos versus Xenos campaign. Eldar versus Necrons, for instance. Necrons versus Tyranids. Tyranids versus Eldar. These are all options, perfectly viable. What about the Orcs versus Tyranids? There was that Cryptoman situation, I think it was Cryptoman, who tricked a Tyranid Hive Fleet Tendril into attacking an Orc world. It basically became the best day ever in the lives of both species. That would be a cool campaign. Take a narrow slice of the universe right there and expand upon it. Instead, Forge World insists on putting out products that nobody's really chasing. They do an update for 40k rules, they don't include the shit people want. They say, oh, fuck this entire huge resin army of Deathcore of Krieg and units like Gorgon transports and cool stuff like that. No, you can't have any of that stuff anymore. If that's the way they're going to go, why would anyone want to purchase from them? Anyway, I'm ranting on here. Mac with the Outer Circle, let me know your thoughts below, and see you all next time. #BringBackHealth.